For being arrogant and a fool, Sung-woo heads outside and asks the students to follow him. There are dead bodies all over the place and Sung-woo thinks that goblins did that. Han-ho spots a group of survivors along the way. Sung-woo can easily tell that these people have fought and survived against these goblins, and they have a bit of experience in this field. Jin-suk knows the leader of this group of survivors. His name is Taesung Park, and he's also the president of the student council. Taesung tells the students with Sung-woo that he also fought and survived against the goblins and he can guarantee their safety if they tag along with him, but he seems to have some ulterior motives. He tells Sung-woo that he can also join him if he destroys all of the monsters he is controlling using his class, because he thinks they are creepy and they can be a threat to other survivors. But Ji Soo-yeon intervenes and tells Taesung that he is full of shit and they don't even want to join his group. She also tells everyone that Taesung is a hypocrite and he embezzled student membership fees during the festival by fabricating an event staging company and its receipts. She was the one who reported him on the university website. Taesung becomes embarrassed after hearing it. Ji Soo-yeon leaves along with her party members. After a while, Ji Soo-yeon starts telling more details about Taesung to her party members. It turns out Taesung was a rich, spoiled kid and he used to take advantage of girls. Some of her friends were also abused by him. That's why she knew about the true nature of Taesung. Han-ho becomes enraged after hearing about the true nature of Taesung. Sung-woo suggests that they should take the path by the hill to escape the campus. There would be less monsters present there because there is low human activity in that area. Along their path, they spot an orc which is even bigger than the goblin boss. After spotting them, the orc makes a loud scream and plunges towards Sung-woo's party to attack them. Sung-woo is a bit excited because he has found a new material for the skeletons. The orc proves to be quite strong and he's about to hit Ji Soo-yeon, but a goblin skeleton takes the hit instead of her and perishes right there. The one-armed skeleton warrior attacks the orc and the orc receives massive damage because of the effect of 88% blade damage of the one-handed sword warrior. Sung-woo party flees into the forest and he uses his skeletons to bait the boss. When the orc is in the forest, he gets attacked by flying knives from Han-ho and the skeletons. The orc manages to deflect some knives. He starts smashing the skeletons, but there are a lot of goblin dead bodies around, and Sung-woo can make them again and again until he runs out of mana. Two skeletons take hold of the arms of orc. Sung-woo and Ji Soo-yeon charge at the orc together. Ji Soo-yeon manages to slash the leg of the orc, and one of his arms is chopped off by Sung-woo. The skeleton warrior finishes him off with a sword stab to the neck. Sung-woo's party receives 110 gold for defeating the Orc Patrol leader. Orc Patrol leaders are a bit stronger than normal orcs. Sung-woo tries to make the Orc Patrol leader into one of his skeletons, but he fails to do so because of his low summon level. Some of Sung-woo's mana is recovered, so he uses his Create Bone Weapon skill on the dead Orc leader to forge some low-level bone clubs. He equips his skeletons with the bone clubs to reach a 5-member synergy with the same weapon to get extra buffs. He gives the sword of the one-armed skeleton warrior to Han-ho and tells him to return the sword back to the skeleton warrior if the need arises. When they reach the entrance, they again see a blocked path message which says that they need to defeat the boss monster within 8 hours, or if they fail to do so, the monsters in the area will grow even more stronger. A message pops up in front of them which says that an orc unit is beginning their hunt and they need to choose a suitable location to fight them. Orcs mostly use their sense of smell to track their prey, so it means that more people you have in your party, the more stronger orc unit will be dispatched to get rid of them. Sung-woo's party seems to be a bit safe because they are only a 3-member party and they will get less of a challenge as compared to Taesung's group. Suddenly, they start hearing screams from Taesung's group. They seem to have caught the attention of the orcs due to their large number of survivors. The first attack on Sung-woo's group has also begun and it seems like they only need to take care of 5 orcs. Soon they spot 5 orcs which seems to be searching for them. Sung-woo has an idea to lay a trap using the empty cars and his skeletons. When the orcs get close to the cars, Han-ho starts making fun of them by calling them greedy pig bastards. The orcs become enraged and start rushing towards him. Once the orcs are within the vicinity of the abandoned cars, the skeletons attack them by surprise with their clubs and they get knocked out due to the synergy effect of the clubs. Sung-woo, Han-ho, and Ji Soo-yeon finish off the knocked orcs with ease. They received a total of 231 gold for killing the 5 orc hunters. They also receive an additional award of 100 gold for killing the first wave of ambushers. Sung-woo got up to level 4 and he chose a random card which increased his maximum number of skeletons by 2. Now he can have a total of 7 7 minions at the same time, but his mana capacity is still only 50. Han-Ho also received a high-speed stabbing skill which he can only use with the dagger. Ji Soo-yoon chose a strength card and gained 2 stat points. She's also feeling a bit stronger than before. Sung-woo asks Han-Ho to give the sword back to the one-armed warrior skeleton because now Han-Ho needs to use that dagger in order to fully monopolize his skill. On the way, they see 7 orc hunters attacking a bus. The people inside the bus are retaliating with a spear, but they cannot hold the orcs for a long period of time. Ji Soo-yoon suggests that they attack the orcs from the front while the person with the spear attacks them from behind. But Sung-woo is skeptical about whether or not the person inside the bus will cooperate with them. He suggests a new better plan. Inside the bus, 2 persons, Kyun-soo Lee with a spear and the other with a shield and sword, are trying their best to fend off the orcs, but they seem to be scared. Meanwhile, a car with skeletons crashes into the orcs. The skeletons start massacring the orcs. The survivors inside the bus mistake them for worse monsters than the orcs. They are startled when they see Han-Ho banging on the bus's door and calling them out. The spear guy tells Sung-woo's party that there is a machine which they can use to buy items with the gold they acquired by killing the monsters. It's basically an E-rank shop, and when Sung-woo turns it on, he has 3 roulette options including bronze, silver, and gold. Han-Ho has 360 gold and Ji Soo-yoon has 584 gold, so they can only go for the bronze option. Sung-woo has 1,552 gold and he can try the silver roulette, but he also has an unlimited rank roulette ticket he received early on in the lobby of the college building. Sung-woo taps on the gold roulette option and it starts spinning. He gets first place item due to his luck. It is a legendary class item called Tear of the Sea Spirit, and it increases the total mana by 200 and it boosts the mana recovery speed by 200%. Sung-woo is quite happy after receiving this item because he can summon a lot of minions again and again if enough dead bodies are present. Sung-woo spins the silver roulette using his 1000 gold and he receives a second place item Vanguard Shield. Ji Soo-yoon receives a second place sword in the bronze roulette called Leader of the Expedition Force. Meanwhile, Han-Ho receives a C-rank potion bundle. It looks like Daesung's group is still fighting in the sports field. Sung-woo decides that they are going to help them using a bus instead of a car this time. Normal students are getting massacred by the orcs while Daesung and his other awakened friends are trying to escape the orcs by themselves. The bus arrives in the sports field and it crashes into the orcs. Kyung-soo Lee, the spearman, is driving the bus and he's quite happy because he's receiving a lot of gold for killing the orcs. Meanwhile, Han-Ho and the skeletons are also getting rid of orcs by throwing knives at them. The bus stops near the survivors and Sung-woo tells the survivors to get inside the bus. Ji Soo-yoon slashes an orc and the orc catches fire due to the effects of the fire whetstone which she has received after killing the first boss of the campus building's rooftop. The remaining orcs are easily killed left and right by Sung-woo and his minions. After the battle ended, Daesung and his awakened friends try to get on the bus but they are stopped by Sung-woo. Sung-woo knew that they were trying to escape using the other students as bait. Daesung is quite pissed after hearing it, but their conversation comes to a halt when they hear a roar and they receive a notification that the orc chief is infuriated by the failed hunt. Sung-woo gets a bit afraid after hearing the roar. He knows that he needs as much help as he can to defeat the orc chief. Sung-woo tells Daesung's party that they can join him if they are willing to listen to his orders. Daesung eats his pride and is about to enter the bus, but Sung-woo demands that Daesung should hand over his chainmail if he wants to hop on the bus. Daesung asks how he can protect himself without the chainmail. Sung-woo replies that he will protect him, and this is a small price he needs to pay for his protection. Sung-woo is now on level 5 and he can summon mid-level monsters like orcs. The skill card he chose allows him to summon 2 more minions. Now he can summon up to 9 minions. Sung-woo gave the chainmail to the one-armed skeleton, but he seems to be struggling with it. The one-armed skeleton is his oldest minion, that's why he gave him a nickname, Righty, because he only has a right arm. While Sung-woo is removing chainmail from Righty, Han-Ho tells him that he thinks they need another bus if they want to keep rescuing more survivors. Sung-woo says that there is no need for that. He tells the survivors that they are gonna engage in combat with the orcs very soon, because the orc chief is pissed and he decided to wage an all-out war on the humans, unlike previously where they were only attacking in waves. One of the survivors breaks the silence and tells them that he saw over 100 orcs in the gym. This scares the survivors, and they receive penalties because most of the survivors have lost their will to fight after hearing it. But Sung-woo is sure that there are less than 100 orcs left because they already killed a lot of them. He tells everyone that he's going to fight the orcs alone. Daesung and his lackeys become more cocky after hearing it. They think Sung-woo was just lucky until now and he's soon gonna dig his own grave. Ji Soo-yoon tells Sung-woo that killing 100 monsters is not gonna be easy, even for him. Sung-woo replies that even if they flock together, they are not gonna be useful because majority of the survivors are weaker than his skeletons. He tells his companions that they are helpful, but things are gonna get more dangerous. That's why he is not gonna take them with him. Jisoo thinks Sung-woo has a rational mind, but this time he is being a bit reckless. After escorting the survivors in a safe building, Sung-woo starts heading towards his next destination along with his minions. His party members are watching him from the bus and they will rush over with the bus if something happens to Sung-woo. In the sports ground, Sung-woo comes face to face with a large number of orcs. There is an enraged red-haired orc who is commanding them. Sung-woo thinks that he is a mid-level boss. The red-haired orc orders the other orcs to attack Sung-woo. Sung-woo heads toward a small staircase where he and his minions make a stand. There's only one narrow staircase where the orcs can attack him, making his place easy to defend. Orcs start approaching the stair and Sung-woo uses his bracelet skill Wild Berserker, which will give him and his minions a 10% attack increase and a 20% speed increase against all goblin-type enemies for 10 minutes. Skeletons start throwing their knives towards the orc and they start falling like flies. The red-haired orc blocks the knives and Sung-woo orders his skeletons to start attacking using the bone clubs, but they are easily overwhelmed by orcs. The one-armed skeleton becomes enraged after watching his skeleton friends getting decimated, but Sung-woo stops him because it's not his turn yet. Sung-woo resurrects the dead orc in place of the fallen skeletons. They will also receive a weapon synergy buff because there are more than 5 orcs with the same axe weaponry in the party. The skeleton orcs start decimating the orcs. Even if some skeleton orcs fall, new are resurrected to take their place and they don't even get tired like the orcs. Sung-woo knows that this is the correct way of utilizing his Necromancer class. The survivors watching from the windows of the building are amazed after witnessing the onslaught of orcs by Sung-woo. His party members who are in the bus are also quite happy after watching him slaughter the orcs. Meanwhile, Sung-woo is impressed by his new legendary item, Tear of the Sea Spirit. It increases his total mana by 200 and his mana regen by 200%. The remaining orcs are still holding up fiercely, so Sung-woo orders Righty to jump into the fight. Righty takes care of the remaining orcs in a few seconds, and Sung-woo receives a new roulette ticket for slaying 100 monsters. It turns out Sung-woo is the 21st person to complete this achievement, and his rank will also increase to infinite status, which is only limited to 100 people. Sung-woo witnesses some fools crashing a bus into the main gate. On the other hand, school president Daesung's group is being kidnapped by orcs. Sung-woo heads towards their direction to save them, and other awakened people who were watching got pumped up and started following him. Sung-woo heads inside the building where orcs have kept Daesung's group captive, and a shaman orc, which seems to be their new boss, is present there. There are also many dead bodies of other monsters present in there. Sung-woo tells everyone to get ready, but the situation of Daesung and his henchmen is not looking good. Daesung begs Sung-woo to save them, but Sung-woo replies he will try his best, but he is not a miracle worker, and they got themselves into that situation in the first place. When Sung-woo's party charges at the orcs, they start killing the Daesung group members as some sort of ritual to enhance the power of the boss monster, and Sung-woo's group stops after watching this cruel scene. The boss gets a power buff after the sacrifice and he uses Breath of Abyss on Sung-woo's party, and they all fall into a state of confusion. Their mana is also burning at a faster rate now. The reinforced boss monster makes his full appearance. He is a junior black magician orc chief. Han-ho drinks a potion to heal his status effect, and he offers it to Sung-woo. But Sung-woo is not affected by the boss's Breath of Abyss. On the contrary, his mana has increased up to 4,000 due to the effects of the Breath of Abyss, so he tells Han-ho to give the potion to Jisoo. Sung-woo's other stats have also increased temporarily due to the Breath of Abyss. Now he can summon 50 minions at the same time. The boss did not expect it to happen, and he is also confused by it. Jisoo and Han-ho starts rushing towards the boss, but Sung-woo stops them. He resurrects all the dead bodies inside the boss room. Sung-woo receives a lot of synergies due to this large number of minions possessing the same type of weapons. Sung-woo is now overflowing with power, and he's ready to show the true power of death to the boss. Magician Orc Chief smashes a lot of skeletons, but it is of no use because they keep reviving. Sung-woo's physical form has also temporarily changed, and the boss gets scared by him. He tries to run away, but the path is blocked from all sides by Sung-woo's minions. The boss makes his last-ditch effort to reach Sung-woo, but Righty chops off his head in one clean slash attack. Sung-woo receives 1,055 gold for killing the Orc Chief. Righty's rank increased up to level 3 after killing the Orc Chief. His defense and commander characteristics have also increased. Hanho points out an item coming out of the boss's mouth. It's an item with devil attribute, and once a devil attribute has been accepted, it requires a lot of sacrifices in order to remove it. Sungwoo still accepts it because it is not that much different from his Necromancer class. He receives a legendary rank Devil's Bloodstone Orb. This item grants the user a devil attribute which steals the enemy's mana by 2% during the fight, and if the enemy runs out of mana, it starts leeching their physical strength. Sungwoo returns to his normal state because the effects of the Breath of Abyss have been lifted, which granted him temporary power-up. Everyone is happy when he comes out, and they cheer for their hero. The seal on the gate is also lifted, and their tutorial is completed. So they leave campus, but the situation outside is also the same as the campus. Spearman Kyung-soo Lee tells Sungwoo that there are 2 buses available, and he can take all of them to a nearby military base, but Sungwoo makes an excuse that his house is nearby. All survivors leave on the bus, but Hanho and Jisoo stay behind to tag along with Sungwoo. Sungwoo says to Hanho that he can allow him to tag along if he lets him cut off one of his arms so he can reach maximum synergy with his one-handed skeleton Righty. Spearman Kyung-soo stops his bus because he notices some dragons moving towards the bus which are moving. The dragons pick up the other unlucky moving bus and kills everyone inside it. Sungwoo and his friends can clearly see the scene. Sungwoo tells his companions that from now on, they are gonna find the monsters to hunt them and get more stronger, or their fate will be the same as the people on the bus. With this said, Sungwoo and his party get ready to start onslaught of Sungwoo and his minions. After killing them, Sungwoo levels up to 6. This time he chooses a guaranteed strength boost card, which increases his strength by 3. Sungwoo goes out where Jisoo just finished up killing 9 goblins. Sungwoo asks Hanho to pack up the daggers, and he tells his teammates they are going to switch to hunting orcs, because they give much more experience points and better rewards. They start finding clues for orcs, but instead find a few military vehicles with dead bodies of soldiers laying around, and it seems like they try to fight back using their field shovels. There is a surviving soldier, but he is a bit confused about the skeletons with Sungwoo's party. Sungwoo clears his doubt about his minions. Soldier tells his Sergeant Kim about Sungwoo's party. Sergeant Kim is in a very bad situation. His leg is injured and he can't leave his vehicle. It turns out he was slashed by a little goblin, but he managed to beat the goblin somehow. Sungwoo inquires why the military is using shovels instead of their guns. Sergeant Kim replies that the guns no longer work. That is why the military is in this bad condition. Hanho asks Sungwoo if he can hand over the healing potion to the sergeant, but Sungwoo thinks giving away things for free is not a good choice. Sergeant Kim tells him that he has some information that he can exchange for the potion. He tells them about wolves, which were as big as bulls, and whole squads of military were wiped out by them. There are also 2 blue QR codes which Sergeant Kim saw. He tells them one of the QR codes is in the bus station and the other one is in the subway transfer center. If a player scans the QR codes, it will install an app on their phones. All other communications are down, and this app is the only way to communicate with other survivors. Sungwoo hands him the healing potion. Sergeant Kim tells them that he is going to rejoin with the main unit and he can take them with him, but Sungwoo thinks it will not be safe with them. Sungwoo gives them a last warning as a farewell gift. He tells them about the dragons which follow moving vehicles. Sergeant Kim and the soldier became more scared, but they thank Sungwoo for this crucial information. Both of the parties part ways. Sungwoo and his party reaches the bus station and they scan the QR code which installs the app on their phones. Sungwoo clicks on the official announcement and it is written that the game has officially launched today. In the first round of class selection, 2,967,821 people were chosen as players, and there are 1,341,122 players who are still alive. The second round of class card selection will take place in 3 days, and the writer of this message is looking forward to the humanities' performance in the next card selection round. Sungwoo opens the message board, but there is no post yet because it costs 1,000 gold to make a post, and it requires 100 gold just to comment on that post. Suddenly a post pops up. It turns out some players have reached level 8 and they are currently building a safe zone in H apartment complex in Hwasong City. H apartment is near Hanho's place. Sungwoo thinks that they need to head over there. Sungwoo is a bit skeptical about it because they have reached level 8 and Sungwoo is still on level 6. After Sungwoo and his friends start heading towards the H apartments, someone deletes the post and a new post pops up which says that someone posted that bullshit. That's why he deleted the post, and he tells the readers to disregard the previous post. We see a glimpse of the writer of the post, and it seems like he has long teeth, just like a vampire. In the city, a father is trying to protect his daughter from the goblins using a baseball bat. He calls for help, but there is no one around to help them. The goblins are about to attack the father and his daughter, but a flying knife hits the head of a goblin from behind. It turns out they are Sung-woo's minions, and they finish the goblins with ease. Sung-woo tells them that he will take them safely to their house, but the father tells him that his house is close by and they came out to find food. Sung-woo shares some of his food with the survivors. There are 2 remaining goblins which run into the basement. This basement is a dungeon. Han-ho asks Sung-woo if they need to chase the goblins inside the dungeon or not. The father tells them that they should not go down into that basement. A friend of his used to run a karaoke bar down there, and he heard there is something more terrifying than those green beasts lurking down there. Sung-woo thanks him for the tip, and they enter the Elder Slime's shrine. They encounter some slimes, and each slime gives 140 gold after being defeated. These slimes are corrosive and they dissolve the metal, but they can't melt bones, which makes Sung-woo's minions their natural predators. Suddenly, the boss Elder Slime appears behind them, and it easily crushes one of Sung-woo's orc skeleton. Sung-woo pierces the slime boss with a basic bone spear. Sung-woo can't summon skeletons because there are only bones around them, but he can create basic bone weapons with those skeletons. Jisoo-yun throws a skeleton towards the boss, and Sung-woo creates 2 more bone spears with that skeleton, and they pierce the boss slime. The boss slime tries to kill Sung-woo, but an orc skeleton gets caught in this place, and Han-ho pulls him back with him. Slime Monster made a big mistake. The bag orc skeleton was carrying had a lot of bones. Sung-woo uses his skills to make a lot of bone spears, which pierce the boss, and his minions start cutting the slime into pieces so it cannot regenerate. Righty delivers the last attack on the boss. They receive 2,255 gold for defeating the boss slime. Slime's mucus is an extremely strong acid. Sung-woo orders his minions to collect the mucus in empty bottles. Sung-woo also received an Elder Slime's core. It's covered with a thick shell. Its interior is composed of a concentrated strong acid, which is capable of dissolving anything. It is mostly useful for dissolving or fusing objects together. Meanwhile, Han-ho tells Sung-woo to check a new comment. It looks like the situation in the post have become more chaotic. Anyone who arrives at the H apartments gets his comments deleted. Han-ho is an idiot, but he also knows that something fishy is happening in H apartments, and Sung-woo has an idea of what is really occurring there. During the night, some thugs are discussing about their sinister plan to kill other players. If they kill a normal human, they receive 500 gold. And if they kill a player, they receive 1,000 times the gold according to the level of the player. Inside the car, a bulky thug inquires about the identity of their real boss from his bald boss. The bald guy is scared. He tells his comrade that the serial killer Professor Red is their boss. Professor Red spared his life because he wanted Bald Thug to work for him, and the Bald Thug can feel something changing inside him. Meanwhile, back in the slime dungeon, Sung-woo asks Han-ho if he can kill a person, because from now on, things are about to get more chaotic. Bald Thug remembers his past, where he completely turned into a minion of a vampire lord after being bitten by him. He was a low-rank vampire. He killed and drank the blood of his own henchmen. Professor Red was quite happy after witnessing it. In the present, a henchman of the bald vampire knocks on the car's door. His henchman reports that they just got a confirmation that their new prey has arrived. According to the comments, there are 3 of them and they are waiting in the park. They start heading towards Sung-woo's party on their car. Bald Vampire tells his lackey that it's their 17th prey. The H apartment is quite big and complex. That's why it's easy to lure people there. The apartment residents stay quiet, saying it's none of their business, but once they run out of prey, they will target the apartment residents. They spot 3 targets and the Bald Vampire orders his lackey to run them over. Those 3 targets were actually disguised bone skeletons. Sung-woo turns them into bone spear weapons, which pierce the car. Sung-woo punches through the window and drags the Bald Vampire outside. Bald Vampire tries to imitate Sung-woo and Sung-woo kicks his chin. Sung-woo asks him about the number of people they got upstairs. Bald Vampire turns into a complete vampire and tries to kill Sung-woo, but Riley chops off one of his hands. Bald Vampire's lackey becomes scared after watching him. Sung-woo asks his lackey about their number and he tells Sung-woo there are 8 people upstairs. He was about to reveal more information but Bald Vampire beheads him. Hanho and Jisoo becomes disgusted after watching Bald Vampire kill his own ally. Bald Vampire's wrist bones are morphing into a pointed blade. He starts drinking blood from the head of his lackey. It turns out he got healed after drinking blood, and his stats have also increased. He was originally a 3-star ninja, but he became a low-rank vampire after Professor Red bit his neck. Once someone becomes a vampire, they are stuck at level 1, but that's not much of a hindrance because if they kill humans instead of monsters, they can absorb their stats by drinking their blood. Bald Vampire activates Berserk Mode, which increases all of his stats temporarily by 20%, but there is a big penalty of Berserk Mode, which occurs after exiting Berserk Mode. It reduces their stats by 50% for 10 hours. Sung-woo thinks that this vampire class is even more gruesome than his Necromancer class. Sung-woo tells Hanho and Jisoo to get behind him. He also orders his minions to attack the vampire, but he is quite fast, and he easily manages to dodge the attacks of the skeletons. He goes directly for Sung-woo, but Sung-woo blocks his attack with his shield. Jisoo-yeon attacks him with her swords, but Bald Vampire easily dodges it, and they both start exchanging blows. Hanho throws daggers, but the vampire blocks them. Hanho keeps throwing daggers like a Gatling gun, which pisses off the vampire. He dashes towards Hanho, but Righty successfully parries his attack. He tries to slash the neck of the vampire, but Vampire somehow dodges it. Sung-woo comes from behind with his shield, but Vampire destroys his shield with one slash attack. They both start exchanging blows, and the vampire is quite confident at this point. Jisoo-yeon tries to sneak attack him from behind with her burning sword, but the vampire is too fast and manages to dodge it. Righty was at the back of Jisoo and he jumps at Vampire and manages to cut off his arm again. Sung-woo orders his minion to attack the vampire, but his backup arrives in time. Thugs also become afraid after watching their boss's true form. His arm is getting regenerated, but Jisoo chops it off again. An orc skeleton tries to attack Vampire, but he smashes him, and it turns out that orc skeleton was just a mere bait. Sung-woo stabs his sword through his orc skeleton, which pierces the vampire's neck, and Sung-woo finally chops his head off. Sung-woo's party receives 1,000 gold for killing a level 1 player. Now, Sung-woo knows exactly what was going on in H apartments. They were killing off other players for their gold and experience. Vampire's lackey gets surrounded by Sung-woo's minions. Sung-woo tells them to drop their weapons or he will kill them all. Thugs are afraid and they drop their weapons. They tell Sung-woo about their true boss, but they also have limited information about him, and this was their first time watching their bald boss's true form. Sung-woo realizes that their real boss has a 5 or more stars class because he can make other players into monsters. Sung-woo asks the thugs about how many people they killed, and one of them tells them that they killed 21 or 22 people. Sung-woo becomes enraged and orders his minions to kill all of them. They receive a total of 5,000 gold for killing all of them. Even Hanho and Jisoo-yeon become surprised after watching it, but Sung-woo tells them that if they don't kill them now, they will start killing other innocent people. Hanho and Jisoo-yeon agree with Sung-woo's decision. The next morning, someone posted that the people in apartment H were murderers and he barely escaped with his life. He was observing them from afar, but some other player finished them all off with his skeletons. Sergeant Kim becomes happy after reading it because he knows it must be Sung-woo's party. Sergeant Kim posts some appreciation comments about Sung-woo's party, and other students Sung-woo helped back in the school are also posting good stuff about Sung-woo, but no one knows his real name. In a depleted building, we see a glimpse of a mysterious figure who became happy after reading the comments, and they head off to an unknown location. Hanho tells Sung-woo about a new post by a guy named Prosecutor. Someone posted that if people want to post something and they lack gold, they can just comment down below this post and help each other. He also provides some other minor information like how they can use this setting to change their nicknames. Most of the comments are about missing family members or useful information about synergies and wolves, which can jump 2 stories high. Sung-woo's party arrives at Hanho's place and Hanho hopes his parents are still alive. Inside the building, there are quite a few dead orcs laying around on the stairs. Hanho prays for his parents' safety. After arriving at the room 202, Hanho desperately calls for his mom, and his parents rush out to see their child. It turns out his parents didn't pick a class card. Hanho is skeptical about his dad because he used to play card games all the time. Sungwoo asks them about how they managed to stop those orcs. It turns out those orcs ran away after Hanho's father used pesticide spray on them. Everyone becomes shocked after hearing it. After they finish eating food, Hanho's mom thanks Jisoo and Sungwoo for bringing their good-for-nothing son back to them. She also prepared some green tea for them. Hanho tells his mom about the awesome things he did to help his party, but she asks her son to shut up. After watching the lights from outside, some biker guys give off a grin smile. Meanwhile, inside the building, Jisoo is happy after taking a shower, and she thanks Hanho's mom for the pajamas. Sungwoo and Hanho are taking shower along with Raidi. Sungwoo is happy to see Hanho's parents alive. He thinks that Hanho's father was quite lucky. He used pesticides against orcs, whose biggest strength is their sense of smell. Sungwoo knows that Hanho must be overjoyed because he found his parents. Sungwoo tells them that this is not a safe place to stay. The orcs which came before were just mere scouts, and it will turn into an all-out war if their main group arrives. But the main problem is that they don't know where to go next. It turns out Prosecutor again made a post. He tells the survivors that one of his friend is a 3-stars pioneer, and they created a small safe area inside Yeongdong-po station, where monsters can't enter, but the survivors need to provide gold or rations because pioneer skills take up a lot of resources to maintain. Sungwoo is skeptical, but he knows what the prosecutor guy said can be true because the world has become a game. But they can't take Hanho's parents there because it is quite far away from their location. There is another comment by a guy called Section Chief Gu, who claims to be a 3-star pioneer, but he can only let in others if they give him rent. This guy is in Hwasong Fortress, which is 20 minutes away if they travel on a bus, and Sungwoo's party decides to head over there. The next morning, they start heading over to Hwasong Fortress along with Hanho's parents. Hanho's dad informs them about some delinquent who steals resources from other survivors. Sungwoo is a bit worried about these third-rate delinquents running amok. Soon, some delinquents arrive at their location on their bikes. A cocky delinquent girl addresses them as Jeezers and tells them to hand over their resources and gold, which pisses off Sungwoo. Sungwoo is about to order his minions, which are hiding in a building behind him, but suddenly they hear a sound, and all delinquents make a run for it. Soon, a pack of giant wolves arrives, but they are not attacking Sungwoo's party mindlessly. Sungwoo's party is at a disadvantage, so he tells his companions to slowly back away. After getting inside the building, one of the wolves tries to attack them, but Sungwoo uses his brain and throws a slime-filled bottle at the face of the wolf. His minions start throwing bone spears at him and the wolf dies. The second wolf tries to run away, but one of Sungwoo's minions tries to stop him. Wolf bites the minions, but it was a trap, and Wolf's mouth becomes filled with slime liquid. Raidi leaps towards the exhausted wolf and finishes him off with one strike. The last wolf becomes afraid after watching it, but he soon gets pierced by spears. They receive 240 gold per wolf they slayed, and Sungwoo's level has risen up to 7. Jisoo-yeon is a bit worried because she thinks they are becoming a burden to Sungwoo, but he tells her that they are quite helpful, but he is skeptical about Hanho's growth. Sungwoo tries to resurrect the wolf, but his level is quite low for that. The next morning, a helicopter is being followed by some wyverns. Suddenly, a field boss wyvern alpha male appears in front of them, and it easily destroys the helicopter. Sungwoo and his friends were watching it from a window, and they think even army is no longer a match for these monsters. Sungwoo's party can't go forward because some wyverns are sleeping ahead on rooftops. Sungwoo suggests to take a break for now, and they will leave once the wyverns go away. Night falls and the wyverns are still sleeping on the rooftops. Suddenly, a message pops up which tells them that they should pick a class card, which will help them survive in this apocalypse. Hanho tells his parents to choose a card with the most stars this time. A 15-second countdown starts and cards appear in front of them. These same cards are also presented to other survivors too, and they disappear after someone chooses them. Hanho is trying his best to find a card with the most stars. But Sungwoo thinks simply picking a card with the most stars is not a good option, and he should pick a card which combines well with his Necromancer class. Sungwoo picks a 3-star Dark Mage Link card, and it combines with his Necromancer class to grant him new skills. He got a skill called Death Aura, which buffs his minions and debuffs his enemies. Hanho was trying to pick a 4-star card, but someone else picked it before him, and he accidentally tapped on a 1-star Priest card. He got a new skill which shields him from his enemies for 10 seconds after he kills an enemy. Hano's father picked a 3-star Pioneer card and he can now make safety zones. Sungwoo is quite happy because now they don't need to go to Hwasong Fortress